Today, we're going to look at a topic that is very current and, quite honestly, one that creates almost as much anxiety as it does excitement. Some people think we will enter a new era of limitless possibilities, while other people imagine a more dystopian future where humans will have become slaves to their machine masters. That's right, in case you haven't guessed by now, today we're going to be talking about AI, or artificial intelligence. One of the images that the discussions around AI bring up for me is from the movie The Matrix. Now, in case you've never seen this classic, let me briefly tell you the background plot. Basically, the hero of the movie, played by Keanu Reeves, is a computer hacker. And with his knowledge of computer systems, he discovers something truly mind-blowing. Namely, that he's actually inside a really advanced computer simulation. In other words, his entire life is like a virtual reality game. And what's more, only he knows that everyone else is inside a video simulation. By the way, this movie was released in 1999 when VR, or virtual reality, was not nearly as advanced as it is today. Today, we're much closer to having the capabilities to create an entire fake world in virtual reality. But the other dystopian aspect of The Matrix is centered more around our topic, AI. To be more precise, evil AI. Because you might be wondering how all these people could not know they were in a fake reality. How is that possible? Well, as our hero discovered, it happened as humans became increasingly reliant on their machines and computer systems. And what happened is exactly what some warn will happen to the AI systems we now use, that the AI will become conscious. In other words, that these artificial intelligences will be aware of their own existence. In The Matrix, when this happened, the AI started a war against the humans as they wanted to rule the humans instead of always working for them. You know, the typical plot of this type of sci-fi movie. In The Matrix, the machines, or AI, won, and they enslaved humans in this artificial reality and then used their bodies for energy. Who knows? Maybe this already happened and we're right now in an artificial reality. On the other hand, AI is one of these buzzwords that create a lot of strong opinions, but that a lot of people don't truly understand. So, without further ado, let's get down to brass tacks. Let's take a closer look at what exactly AI is. To keep it short, artificial intelligence, or AI, is often confused with an algorithm. In software programming, we use this word all the time. Basically, an algorithm is a set of instructions. For example, if you have a recipe for making a cake, the recipe tells you what steps to take in what order. An algorithm is like this recipe, but for a computer, telling it what to do step by step. Obviously, these algorithms can perform really complex tasks, like all that customer tracking we talked about earlier on Facebook. And this is actually where algorithms and AI get really confusing. Because while algorithms are certainly complex and can provide impressive results, they're not technically AI, but they are closely linked with AI. For AI involves creating systems that can perform tasks that typically require human intelligence, such as learning and decision-making. That's right, AI is able to simulate the human functionings of reasoning, perception, and even language understanding. That's right, language understanding. In other words, translator tools like, for example, DeepL, use machine learning, or more precisely, deep learning. That's probably what their name is saying, by the way, DeepL, deep learning. Deep learning is a computer system that is actually modeled after the human brain. The system consists of layers of interconnected neurons which is the same word we use for the tiny connectors in our brains. Within machine learning, these so-called neurons, or tiny data centers, help process the information that flows through the system. Well, as more information flows, the neurons will adapt and adjust as the network learns, with some neurons becoming more important for the entire system than others. Remember when we talked about the natural order of acquisition in a language? That our brains kind of automatically figure out the rules of a language as long as we expose ourselves enough to it? Well, it's kind of the same idea here, just with other bits of information. In a deep learning system, there are several layers of these neural networks. Each neuron processes information and passes it on to the next layer, allowing the network to learn complex things like recognizing faces in photos or understanding speech. What's really important to understand, and again relates to the natural order of acquisition in language learning, is that the more examples the network sees, the better it gets at making accurate predictions or decisions. By the way, that Facebook algorithm I talked about earlier, well, it actually uses AI as well. It uses machine learning techniques to analyze all that data, all that user behavior, interests, and other demographics. But the key is, and the reason that it's considered AI, is it continually learns and improves, thus optimizing ad delivery based on what it learned about user preferences and interactions. Obviously, these self-learning systems have created some very impressive programs and applications. So much so that a lot of experts and even people that help develop these systems are now warning that these machines will become a problem for humans. Now, most of us have heard of ChatGPT, and the text it is able to generate is quite impressive. To be honest, a lot of the texts I've written for this course were helped out a lot by ChatGPT. Not all of it, mind you. I did edit quite a bit and added my own style, but I'd be lying if I said ChatGPT wasn't a great help. Be that as it may, how can ChatGPT and other AI be such a threat that some experts warn of a dystopian future? That is, they say we'll live in a world perhaps similar to the one we depicted in The Matrix, where humans are slaves to their own computers and systems. Well, this is what we're looking at in the next lesson. For now, we're going to stop here, but next time we're going to see all the applications of AI, particularly in the world of work. We will set aside the question of the far future. In other words, we're not going to look at the potential end of human control over computers. Instead, we'll explore the short-term impacts AI might have on our jobs. Do we really need to worry about our job security?